Why did I move here? I guess it was the weather.
C# is an object-oriented programming language that has evolved into becoming a multi-paradigm, multi-platform language. Originally developed by Microsoft in the year 2000 as part of the .NET platform, the executives at Microsoft were like, hey, Java is cool, so what if Java but Microsoft? Which wasn't that much of a bad idea at the time, considering the fact that everybody would be using Windows XP by the next year. But now, here we are 25 years later, and nobody is interested in using closed-source programming languages. Now, the problem with C# today is that whenever people think of it, they still think of a dusty old programming language developed for building gray-boxed Windows applications, which couldn't be further from the truth. So I think it's time for us to have a fresh introduction to what C# and the .NET runtime actually are today. Unlike C or C++ that get compiled directly into platform-specific binaries depending on your CPU architecture and operating system, C# gets compiled down into an intermediate language. This executable that its code is written in the intermediate language then gets executed by the .NET runtime through just-in-time compilation. In a sense, C# strikes a balance between optimized low-level languages like C and flexible interpreted languages like JavaScript, offering the best of both worlds. Now, when it comes to the .NET runtime, there are basically two flavors. The first, called .NET Framework, is the older .NET version. It's older, it only works on Windows, and you never want to use it. But the second flavor is the good one. The second flavor is called .NET Core. This is the open source and multi-platform version. But there are so many programming languages out there that are open source and multi-platform. So what exactly makes C# great? Well, to be honest, I have never come across a language that is so fast, yet resembles TypeScript so much. Want to write asynchronous code? Well, you have async and await, which was actually invented by C#, believe it or not. Do you like arrow syntax? Well, you also have lambda functions. Want to make your variables nullable? Well, you have nullable reference types simply just by adding a question mark after the data type's declaration. And if I'm going to be completely honest, C# syntax is actually much cleaner than TypeScript. C# is to TypeScript what TypeScript is to JavaScript. C# is TypeScript if TypeScript did not have the anytype C# seashells on the seashore. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. And all of this is without mentioning any features specific to C#. And oh man, what I'm going to mention is one hell of a feature. And it's called link or link queue. And essentially what link queue is SQL inside of your C# code. And it works exactly like SQL would. For example, if you wanted to select some objects from a list of objects where a certain condition is met, well, you have the where clause. Maybe you want to select specific properties from your objects as well. Go ahead and do that, that's completely fine. Maybe you want to order by date of birth after that. Sure, why not? Or maybe you have two lists of objects and you want to join those objects together. Forget writing a for loop to accomplish that, simply use a join statement. Oh, you thought I was done? Well, what if you wanted to change your query dependent on some kind of logic? And not in the beginning of the code, but I mean somewhere down the line. Well, you can simply just store those queries inside of variables and then execute it later. And link queue actually works very well with one of the greatest ORMs out there, at least in my opinion. If you have any better ORMs, please let me know in the comments. And this ORM is called Entity Framework Core, or EF Core for short. And the way this ORM works is I can essentially select data from the database, and that data could be multiple objects from multiple tables, who cares, and then start editing those objects locally inside your C# code, because the entity framework will keep track of all the changes that you make, and that includes creating objects or deleting objects. Now, once you're done with your data manipulation, you could just simply call save changes, and all the changes you have made to the database will be saved into a transaction. And these are just some of the features why I think C# is one of the best programming languages, especially when it comes to backend development, and it's only going to be getting better in the future. Now, in terms of HTTP APIs, you can use ASP.NET Core Web API, which allows you to build controllers, or you can use Minimal API, which looks a lot like Express from Node.js if you ask me. You also have MVC and Razor Pages if you're looking to get into client-side development. You have Blazor WebAssembly, although I wouldn't recommend that. I'm more of a Vue.js and React developer. And you also can just build games with C# using Unity or Godot. So if you're looking to get into game development or maybe switch gears in the future, C# is a great language that would broaden your horizons. And let's be honest here, if the developers for Windows 11 decided to use C#, then it wouldn't be using that much CPU and RAM as it is currently using right now, because part of the start menu was literally built in React. Anyways, this video is becoming too long, so if I've convinced you, go ahead and give C# a go. That was not funny. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. I'll see you in the next one.